Look at your bank account, your net worth, your assets, if you even have any. How old are you? In your 20s, 30s, 40s? Are you rich? If so, you wouldn't be watching this video. You're probably not even poor, but the poorness in you still led you to click on this video. So why are you poor? What went wrong? Is it the family background? Is it you're not smart enough? Is it you have so many problems? Or is it the things that you can't control? Blame the government, blame society, blame your family, blame everything. But have you ever thought deeply on why you're poor? Have you taken a look at your spending habits? What you do with the money you make? Where does that money go? To rent? To food? To things that you absolutely need? Or is it going to something else? Like buying the latest pair of shoes, or buying a $7 cup of coffee, buying the latest iPhone that comes out every single year. Have you ever taken a hard look at why you're poor? Struggling in the rat race? There's plenty of financial advice out there on the internet. But why don't you, or why can't you follow it? What's making it so difficult? Let's break it down. So why are you really poor? It's simple. You're conditioned to be poor. Now, conditioned to be poor doesn't always mean you're poor in terms of a financial aspect. Yes, you can be both financially poor and conditioned to be poor, but being conditioned to be poor doesn't necessarily mean you are financially poor. But usually, they go together. Conditioned to be poor, financially poor. So what is conditioned to be poor? Being conditioned to be poor means that we think we have to exchange our time for money, and that there's this machine set up for us in life, which go along the lines of we pay to go to school, then we graduate, then we get a job to become a cog in the machine. We spend our youth and middle years to hopefully retire at the age of 65 and then start to enjoy life. This is how most of us live. We get a paycheck, we save some of that paycheck, and by some, just a tiny little bit of whatever is left over after we spend. And then we work until we retire. To find out more about poor conditioning, check out this video by Vincent Chan. So where does poor programming or conditioned to be poor come from? While not always the case, it has a lot to do with your family background. People from poor families tend to be conditioned poor and actually end up poor just like their family. People from rich families, on the other hand, tend to be conditioned rich and usually end up rich just like their family. It's simple. The things we are taught, shown, experienced at a young age program our subconscious mind, which dictates our conscious thoughts, which manifest in our actions, which bring about the result of that action, of that conscious thought, of that subconscious mind. If we're taught that we have to work, as in we have to exchange our time for money, then we'll eventually end up as cogs in a machine exchanging our time for money. If we're taught that we can let money work for us, we'll find areas and opportunities to obtain and develop the money producing machines. So how does poor conditioning actually make us financially poor? Let's say you're a worker or a cog in the machine, doesn't matter where. McDonalds, Google, retail, corporate, physical, mental, we get a salary. We use that salary to pay for our expenses, rent, food, car, kids. Most of us, after paying for expenses, have little to no money left to invest. That thought doesn't even cross our minds. With the little money we have to treat ourselves. Because why? Because we worked hard. Buy the latest balenciaga, go on a trip. I work for it. I deserve it. If I work another week, I can afford these things I've always wanted to buy. I'm working hard today, so I treat myself to a $7 cup of Starbucks. It's always make money, spend money. It's never make money, invest in self, make more money, and then spend money. You're conditioned to be poor, and that's why you stay poor. Let's look at some stats. On average, Americans spend almost $1,500 a month on discretionary spending. Discretionary meaning not necessary. Things like food, clothing, apps, jewels, subscriptions, streaming. Then what is necessary spending? Housing, food, car. Yes, these are necessary, but we often spend excessive on what we think is necessive. Is that even a word? Well, you get the point. We get a small bump in paycheck, and then we get a bigger house or better food or nicer car. Necessary expense? Maybe not so much anymore. Why buy Louis Vuitton stock when you could get a Louis Vuitton bag that retains its value? Retain? Yeah, if you hold it, don't use it, keep it in new condition. it will be the same price you bought it for, and it'll retain, or in other words, 0% returns. Again, you're conditioned poor, so you stay poor by staying a cog in the machine, being stuck in never-ending consumerism, spending, treating yourself, make money, spend money. So what can I do to break out of the poverty mindset and actually become rich? Take small steps. This shift doesn't happen overnight. First, let's see what the wealthy mindset is. Instead of, I'm a cog in the machine, think, how can I become the machine? Instead of, I'm going to reward myself with this purchase, think, I'm going to reward myself when my assets that I've invested in, instead of purchasing things I don't need, are big enough that my assets start paying me. Instead of, I'm going to live in a better apartment when I make more money on rent, think, I'm going to purchase a nice multifamily house that I can rent out, build equity, and make it pay on its own. Pretty much, change your thoughts first. Every time your mind tells you you can't become richer, you think, how can I become richer? Every time you get your paycheck, think, how can I first invest some of this in myself and my assets before I spend so that I can one day actually really be rich? Reprogram your mind through repetition and let it show in your action. Plant seeds of prosperity in your mind, water it daily, and watch it grow. Okay, great. This is all good, but what are some real actionable steps I could take? So let's get you rich. First, see where you're spending your money. Is it on food, clothing, car, housing? See what you can live without. Do you really need that $7 Starbucks coffee every day? Okay, let's say after cutting down on excessive spending, you're left with an extra X amount of money. Think of your goals. Is it to have a great body? Is it to be financially free? And then allocate your money to each of these areas where you want to invest. Since we're a fintech company, let's focus on putting that money aside to investing. Using $7 cup of Starbucks as an example, that's $210 a month or $2,520 a year you're spending. Instead, let's say you bought Starbucks stock worth $2,520 every year for 10 years. If you had continuously bought Starbucks coffee, you would have been down $25,200 in those 10 years. But if you had bought Starbucks stocks for those 10 years, based on Starbucks average returns, you would have had almost $90,000 or $115,200 difference. That one coffee habit, $115,200 difference in 10 years. Investing sounds easy to do, but takes a lot more work and research than we would like. To make that process easier, we made Dough, which is a Chrome extension that lets you buy stock on every website you shop. It calculates how much stock you could get from the price of the item you are about to purchase, shows you the expected growth of your money based on historical returns, and shows you information on that company, including financials and other information. Buy stocks, just as easy as you shop. So every time you have an urge to splurge your paycheck that you live week to week on by buying $1,000 pair of shoes online, you'll be reminded by Dough how much that $1,000 would be worth if you bought stock instead, and buy that stock right there. So there you have it. We talked about why you're poor, why you're conditioned to be poor, why that conditioning affects your financial status, how to break out of that conditioning, and what you can do to take steps towards financial prosperity. If you enjoyed this video, please press like and subscribe. You can check out Dough on this link below and get on the waitlist to be one of the first ones to use it when it launches. Start reprogramming your mind to have a rich mindset and to actually become rich. Let's get it.